All right. I hope everyone is doing good out there today. Today what I'm going to be talking about, I want to talk about how interpreting platforms actually work from the inside, not from a company perspective, but from someone doing the job daily. So this is what we are going to talk about today in this particular live. We're going to be talking about a few different things today. I'll be talking about my experience. Um, and I will also be telling you why I'm discussing this today. So this is what we'll be talking about. It'll be just me talking about my experience as an interpreter. Anybody is welcome to join at this point. So yeah, this is what we'll be talking about. And like I said, this is not from a company perspective, but this is from someone actually doing the job, and this is different. It's different. Depending on which side you're on. From a company perspective, things are different than from someone just actually firsthand doing the job. So that's what I definitely want to get into today. So I'm gonna just give people a little chance to join. If nobody don't join, it'll be okay. I'll still keep the topic rolling. But yeah, and I've been doing this for about a good 6 years, interpreting. It's been about 6 years, but I've done it for, it may be longer because let me see, 2019 is when I started it, and then there's actually when I started doing it remotely, and I've always during that time frame I freelanced, and I'm still freelancing. But as I mentioned every day, I'm in a transition from the freelancing to just owning my own business, which I already have it up and running, which is Russell Trilingual, but I'm actually trying to structure it in a way to where I can get clients. I mean, everything is ready to go. I have my website up, so it's ready to go. So give people a little chance to join if anybody want to join the live here. So we're gonna have a few different topics we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about my experience. And I just felt like this video was important because I mean, even though you see me dancing around on YouTube and you see me talking about different things, I mean, I still like my brand to be based on my reality of, who I am as a person and what I represent, what I do. So I felt like this video was definitely necessary. Okay, so I don't have nobody join yet. Okay, so we're gonna still keep it going regardless. So give y'all maybe like a few more seconds to see if anybody join the live. And we're gonna get into more topics. Okay. Okay. All right, so I don't have nobody join yet, but y'all can always go back and look at the video later. But this is reality, like my own reality. So first we're going to talk about the reality of the industry. That's going to be the first thing we're going to talk about because it's a reality, right? And I think it's important for people to know the reality of things. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about, the topic is we're going to talk about W-2 versus freelance platforms. So at this point, I'm actually on the work that I do now is considered a freelance platform. It wouldn't be considered W-2. So let's dive into that first. We're going to talk about the stability versus flexibility. We're going to talk about the payment structures. We're going to talk about why delays happen. We're going to talk about what interpreters misunderstand about the system. And like I say, the reason I'm talking about this is because it's part of my brand. It's part of who I am. I'm Russell Trilingual. And Russell Trilingual consists of interpreting. It consists of me teaching Spanish. It consists of me teaching French. Um, and of course, dancing is just like it's the fun part and the nostalgia of my brand, which is great. Okay, so let's get into the W-2 versus freelance platform. So the difference between it, if you don't know, the W-2 versus freelance platforms is if you work as a W-2 employee, you're paid um, based on your availability. Um, but it's more like W-2. Everybody know what W-2 is. So W-2 is when you're paid, like they give you a certain amount of hours a week. So normally it's 40 hours a week that you're working when you're a W-2 employee. And they have control over your schedule, they have control over your time, and then they pay you a certain amount per hour. And then you go home, like your shift is that's it, it's over with. So you have some interpreting companies that actually operate that way where they pay you hourly, right? So they pay you hourly and you interpret for 40 hours, per week. And that's what you do. You have to be available, because it's like they have control. They control your schedule. You may get paid every week, every 2 weeks, or whatever like that. But that's W-2 when you are an employee, right? So and there I have been on this side of the equation before when I interpreted at one point. I worked for a particular company and I was paid 13 per hour. This was back in like 2019 that I worked for this particular company. And I was there for about, I think 9 months. But the structure for me wasn't the ideal structure because I knew my potential as an interpreter. I'm like, well, this 13 hours okay, because it felt like it was stable for me. But at the same time, I'm like, I know I can do better. Like I know that I can do better. So at the same time, what I did was I also transitioned to a freelance platform. And with the freelance platform is you work your own hours. It can be stable if there's a high call value. So I was working my own hours. But at the time I think I was really being used more for an overflow. Like they have the actual W-2 employees, right? And then they also I feel like the contractors, which is the freelancers, which I was in that position at that time. I was just really being used for overflow, like to fill in the gaps, like when they have so much call volume to where the employees couldn't control it. So that's what I was being used for in that case. But it worked out for me because it was a stable position for me at that time because it was like I could make my own schedule and I still could um work and like it was just stable for me. So um I love that position. I love the position because it was stable. I was working a certain like I could work and I was getting paid more per hour, right? Like at that time I was getting paid 40 cents per minute and it averaged out to be $24 an hour. So that was more than I would have been making if I would have chose a W-2 position. But the way the W-2 position is sold is like it's stability. Like it's really something stable. It's sold that way. That's how it's presented to you. But at that time, I chose to freelance because it made more financial sense for me. But in behind the scenes, it was more like I was really being used for the overflow, which I didn't really know at that time. So would I go back and choose a W-2 role? Absolutely not, because I feel like it was just financially better to take the um the independent contractor role, which was the free working on the freelance part of the business. It just made more financial sense. And then my call volume started to drop at one point. So I was like, wow, I gotta try to do something else. So yeah, this a personal experience that I have experienced. So we're also going to talk about that kind of falls into the payment structures. Those are like two different payment structures because W-2 is one payment structure and then freelance is another payment structure. It's two different payment structures. Like I mentioned, if you W-2, they pay you maybe every 2 weeks, right? If it's W-2, they're going to pay you every 2 weeks or whatever, but you're going to be working a 40-hour shift. Okay, that's their payment structure. The other payment structure is 1099 freelance. That's the other payment structure. There's two payment structures. Okay. And like I said, I was in a payment structure that was um based on my availability. Like I would work when I wanted to work, but it like behind the scenes, I really was handling the overflow. And I just didn't know that at the time. But it worked out at the time. But I honestly think if I knew that if I kind of sort of felt like I sort of kind of knew it was the overflow, but I felt like I didn't know I was the overflow. I didn't know with confidence until you know, later into the business. So that's the two difference. So anybody got if you have any questions about what I'm saying, and this is firsthand experience. This is not just me just researching something, it's definitely firsthand experience. Um, so we're gonna also talk about So I said payment restrictions. We're gonna also talk about why delays happen. Why delays happen. So anybody got any questions about this topic? Anybody, if you want to come in, you have any questions, let me know. Can you let me know, please, if you have any questions? Because so no one has any questions, right? Okay, so now we're going to talk about why the payments could be behind in certain cases. Like if you work as an interpreter, and your payments may be behind. We're going to talk about that. So most platforms don't pay interpreters individually in real time. They don't pay them. So what that means is like when I do work, like when I work for the company that I used to work for, which I freelance for, I was paid every month. I was paid monthly, and it was towards the end of the month. I think it was like always on the 30th of every month. So I mean, I wish that they paid like certain companies pay weekly or bi-weekly. I mean, it would be ideal, but a lot of companies like that I have seen in the past, just based on my experience, they pay um they pay monthly. A lot of them, it's more systematic. Systematically they pay monthly. So and they run payment batches, right? So there's like a multi layer approval chain. So before money leaves the company, often goes through operations, approval, accounting verification, finance authorization, um, cash flow management. I mean, this is kind of uncomfortable truth for most interpreters that don't talk about. Um, but some platforms pay interpreters after they get paid by their clients, right? So if their client payments are late, your payments get delayed because they're getting payments from the client, right? So if the client is delayed paying, then they're going to be delayed with your payment. So even if the company doesn't say that openly, I mean they're juggling incoming and outgoing cash. Okay, so healthy companies they do buffer this, and struggling companies they stretch the timelines. Then you also have the administration friction. Small things cause big delays, missing paperwork, invoice mismatches, timekeeping discrepancies, compliance checks. I mean, even one flag entry can cause a payout while someone investigates. So you got the scale stress. As platforms grow, their systems don't always scale smoothly. So more interpreters, more clients, more complexity. Right. So payments delays are usually operational failures, not personal attacks. So if your payments are delayed, it's not personal. It's more just a fail of the operation. So it's not personal. So I just want to let everybody know that there is an interpreter that work in that field. That's normally what the problem is in those cases. Um, Right. So payment delays and interpreting platforms usually come from batching systems, approval chains, and cash flow timing. But regardless of the cause, interpreters are running a business too. That's what I say. You still running a business. Like you working for a company as an interpreter, you're still a business. Okay, you're still a business. And predictable income is just part of a healthy ecosystem. I mean, it's just the truth of the matter. Um, I am having an experience right now where my payment is delayed with one of the companies I do work for. I don't want to say I work for the company, but it's more of an having a delay in it. So, and like what I say is that, I mean, regardless of the cause, I mean, we still running a business as an interpreter. So if you're working as an interpreter, you still running a business too. So, I mean, having some type of predictable payment is part of a healthy ecosystem. So, yeah. I mean, you free to come in on the side here, like leave a comment if you've had a similar experience with. And like I say, it doesn't necessarily have to only be an interpreting field. It could be like in just any freelance field. Like even if you work for yourself and you run your own business, like me as Russell Trilingual, my business. I mean, if a payment is behind, I mean, it could happen, right? Your clients could be possibly your payments could be okay. So now what we want to talk about now, at this point, I want to talk about my personal experience. That's what we're going to talk about at this point, my personal experience. And like I say, if y'all don't get to see the video now live, you can go watch it later. So I want to talk about the challenges that I faced. I also want to talk about what I've learned. I also want to talk about the mistakes that I made early on. And then I also want to talk about what I do differently. That's what I want to talk about at this moment about the interpreting. Okay, so first we're going to start talking about the challenges that I've faced as an interpreter. That's one thing. And I'm going to kind of touch on personal experiences like in person because I was an interpreter in person. And like I said, when I first started out, I was in my 20s. I'm 37 now, but when I first started out just interpreting period, I think I was about I got my certificate, 40-hour certificate, which was a medical certificate. I got that certificate, I think in 2011. Because I wanted to do something, but I didn't want to go study for like a long time. Like I didn't want to go to school for 4 years or nothing like that because I knew I loved Spanish at the time. So I'm like, I want to do something that I can utilize like now, something that I knew I love Spanish. So I went to school in 2011 and I got my 40-hour certificate to begin with. And then I started working at clinics where there was a need for bilingual staff. Hmm. I mean, when I really think about that, that actually was, and it just hit me now too, because because I was working, but I didn't feel like it was bad, right? It was really okay at that time because I needed experience in Spanish, like medical. I needed to learn medical terminology, and I felt like I didn't feel ready to just jump out and be an interpreter because I'm like, I need to learn medical terminology. I need to learn different terminology, and I need to learn the role of an interpreter in order to really be a professional interpreter. So what I did was, like I said, I went to school first and got my 40-hour medical certificate, and then from there, I just applied for jobs where I could use Spanish because you still got to naturally know how to speak your target language. You have to know that. So I felt like, okay, let me get some experience under my belt by working at these clinics, which were, they were using me as a bilingual person, like, not as an interpreter. I was just really bilingual and I was there observing like a lot of different things, a lot of knowledge. So I was so hungry for it in my early 20s. I was so hungry. Like, I mean, you can't imagine, I was like Spanish everywhere. Spanish, like I had this certain hunger that, man, it was just crazy. I wouldn't say I don't have it now. I still have it now, but I'm more aware of things now. So like I still got the same hunger. I got a lot of hunger for it. Right. So let's talk about the challenges I face. So one challenge that I did face was, and I've talked about this in different videos, me being a black man, and I'm just being honest, me being a black man, um, when I would work at the clinics that I would work at, or when I would go interpret, like I would get certain looks, or at the clinics, people would feel like the Spanish community that would need somebody to speak Spanish, they would feel like I wasn't qualified enough just based on me being black, and that was it. Before I would say something in Spanish or whatever, they would just feel like I wasn't qualified because I was a black man. That was just the way it was. I'm not telling you something coming from just a personal experience only. I mean, this was a reality. Like it was a reality. Like when they would need someone to speak Spanish in the clinics that I was working in, at those times, and it was before I became an interpreter, and it was when I did become an interpreter. They did not want, the one person at one time didn't want me to interpret for them, or they didn't want me to speak to them because they felt like a person at this particular clinic I was working at, they felt like that person was more qualified just because out the strength that they were of Hispanic descent. That was it. And I can, like, my Spanish is a lot better now, like than that time, because I've been doing it for so many more years, like 6 years. But at that time, my Spanish was really very, really better than the people that I was around, right? Like it was like a lot better. And the reason why was because just because they was from a Spanish speaking country, and I think at this time, I think the person that I'm referring to was not really literally from a Spanish speaking country, but they heritage was from a Spanish speaking country. And they would ask me sometimes like for advanced terminology that they needed to say or certain things. They would come to me because I just skill wise, I was just much better at Spanish. And this is not me bragging. Like skill wise, I was way more better. I had perfected it. Like I was still working to perfect it. Like I feel like as an interpreter, you never stop perfecting your skill. But at that particular time, I was very much more skill wise. But the people that came to the clinic, they would not look at it that way. They didn't look at it that way. It was just like if you, Latino descent, then you the person that I want you to speak Spanish, even if that person wasn't really the best qualified person. And this is coming from a firsthand experience. My experience as Russell Trilingual, I went through that, and it is discrimination, kind of, but it's true. It happened. So that's one of the challenges I faced. Another challenge when we go back to that particular time, because I was younger then, I was a lot, I was very younger. I mean, in my early 20s, I think I was like 23, 20, 22. I think when I first started that position. Was it 20? I think 23. It was like in 2012, I started. So about 22, 23 around that time. And another thing, when I look at it, I had found out later, I was actually doing two roles. I was doing two different roles at this particular place I was working at. So I was actually interpreting, and then I was actually handling like reception. So I was doing two different things at that time that I worked at this clinic. So, and I didn't know that. Like I thought it was like no, I thought it was okay, but really as an interpreter, that's a whole different role. That's a profession. But the business I was working with was trying to kind of cram it into one thing to profit. But I didn't know that until really later. And I can remember I asked this particular company I was working for a raise, and they denied the raise. But I didn't have the same mental strength that I have now to really understand what was going on. But as an interpreter, you supposed to be getting paid for interpreting is a whole different service. Like interpreting is a career of its own, right? So I should have been getting paid really for the interpreting. And then also, but like I say, they have out like it was like they was treating it like hourly. But I felt like for the hourly amount, if I was gonna be doing it per hour, I feel like it should have definitely been more, right? But interpreting is a whole different career of itself. And then being a receptionist, that's another job. So I was really doing really two jobs, but really getting paid for one, right? So that was at that time. So that's another challenge I faced. So what have I learned from this? What I've learned, I mean, I've learned from it because I mean, this is exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing now. Like I've learned that you have to be independent, you know. You have to be intentional on what you do. Like you can't just jump into something without really having knowledge. And I've learned that the lack of knowledge causes people to take advantage of you, right? So because I didn't know certain things at that time, I mean, it was a lot of times that I was like silently taken advantage of. I mean, that's what I would call it because, I mean, if I supposed to be getting paid for two things, two different things, that's one thing. And then I also learned to not take things personal, such as like in the case at the clinic that I was working for, I was discriminating in a way because they felt like that because I was black, that I was not qualified for the job. You know what I'm saying? And I actually, before I started working the job, in the interview that I did, the person felt because I was black that I wasn't qualified. I had came to my interview. This is another person, but I came in the interview. I had my certificate. I had everything that showed that skill wise that I could perform the job. And in the interview, the person actually reached out to the person at the clinic that I was working because it was a clinic at the time, and I could hear it was just so unprofessional. You know what I mean? It wasn't not professional like the atmosphere. So it was like um they was like, how can he speak Spanish and he black? But that's what I'm saying. Skill wise, it does not mean nothing. It's kind of like anything that you go into, any field, people can look at skill wise and people can look at your origin. Like skill wise and origin just don't, it's not the same thing. So a lot of the times I was judged based on my color, my skin, instead of my skill or what I was able to do. So, like I said, it was a challenge I faced. And what I've learned from that, I mean, you can't really take that personal. I mean, if you know your skill and know that you're great at something, you know you're great. And there's so many other people that can understand it. So the communication should be in the understanding, as long as you got understanding from some people that know, and you understand yourself. So that's what I learned from that situation. And those are some of the mistakes that I made early on. So the mistakes I made early on was just not having the knowledge, like, and not having knowledge can, people could definitely take advantage of you if you don't have knowledge. It's almost kind of like if somebody was going to repair your car. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people might want a man. And this also something that relates to the same topic. I used to work at this place where I used to speak Spanish, and it was they sold car parts. And then we had women working for us too, like, or for the company, right? So when men would come in there, they would automatically feel off top that men just knew more. You know what I'm saying? And like I'm saying, I'm a man, I don't know a lot about no car, but they would just automatically feel like when they come in that store, they're gonna go to the men first. They don't want to hear nothing from. And it was this woman working there, and she really knew a lot. Skill wise, she knew way more than some of those men that was in there, and she knew more than me. You know, but they just automatically felt because she was a woman, okay, well, she don't really know much and stuff, but it wasn't the case. Skill wise, she was definitely, and knowledge wise, she was way better than the men that was in there. Some of the men, I mean, of course, I'm gonna give the men they credit that knew what they knew, but I'm just saying, how people judge on the outside instead of looking at what it is on the inside. So, like I say, me working at the clinic back then in different places, they felt like because I was black that I didn't know Spanish or I wasn't a good enough interpreter just because I was black, right? When skill wise, I was better than some of the people that were of Latino origin. So there was mistakes I made early on. Okay, so what would I do differently? That's what we want to talk. What would I do differently now at this point? What would I do differently than I did then? What I'm doing now. Exactly everything I'm doing now is what I would do differently. Now at this point, I'm more aware of time. I'm more aware of what goes on, just period in the world through those experiences. So I would start and be more aggressive with my business like I am now. I would do that early on. And I would just, work at the places just for financial stability, but I would not be trying to pretend everything okay. So I just would recognize reality at that time. That's what I would do differently. Yep. And I would internalize it. I wouldn't take things personal. I just would move a little different than I did at the time. Okay. So now what we're going to do, we're going to talk about advice for interpreters. That's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to talk about advice. So we're going to give you some practical tips. I'm going to tell you how to diversify income, how to handle payment delays, outreach strategies, mindset shifts. That's what we're going to talk. That's what we're going to talk about now. So, how to diversify income? Oh, you don't want to just work for no just one agency. Like if you have a platform or something like that, if you're working for a platform, you want to work for like more than one agency. You don't just want to put all your eggs in one basket. You want to also be working on your business. You don't want to just be doing one thing. You want to diversify your income. You don't want to just work for one place and put all your eggs in one basket. You want to work different places, or you want to also have your own business going. Don't just depend on one thing. That's the mistake I made earlier. I just depended on one thing and felt like, okay, everything is okay. No. So that's my practical tip. Um, how to handle payment delays, the same thing. I mean, like if your payment delayed, if you got different people you working for, different agents you working for, then the delay is not going to affect you that much as if you're just working for one place or you're just working for a platform. It's just one platform. So you want to diversify your income in order to handle the delays. And you want to be sort of kind of persistent on trying to get your payment. Because I feel like if you sign a contract, it'll be in the contract that you're supposed to get paid on a certain time. So you want to definitely kind of be somewhat, you still want to be professional, but you want to be persistent on your payment. Because I mean, like I said, as an interpreter, you working independently, you still running your own business. Like as an interpreter, even if you're working for platforms and stuff, you as an interpreter, you're individual, they're selling you as a product, your time. So and your availability. So it's a business relationship still between you two. You're not an employee, you know. So it's like you want to have that mindset that you still a business, even if you know, working on a platform. All right. So we want to talk about the outreach strategies. Outreach strategies we're going to talk about. Let me see. We don't have a lot of time left. Not really. So let me just try to kind of wrap this up. So outreach strategies, that's actually where I stand right now with my business. So one of the outreach strategies that you want to do if you working as an interpreter, I'm doing my own business, right? So what I do is I call out to clinics, businesses that need the services. So it's basically you're doing the same thing that these platforms are doing behind the scenes. You know, they promoting themselves, they calling places, they may be sending out flyers or whatever, but you want to promote yourself in a way so you can, that's an outreach strategy. So one thing I would just say calling around places, maybe being on platforms like Fiverr that could kind of help you. I still think owning your own business is just the top number one thing. Having your direct clients is the top thing. But Fiverr is still like a stepping stone too to kind of sort of have a presence. So yeah, I would say calling people and just networking period, you know, could help you as outreach strategy. So mindset set shifts. Let's talk about that too. Um it's not, and when I go back to the time that I worked at these particular places like the clinics and the stuff, and the times that I was judged based on my outer appearance by me being a black man, um I also have to say that it wasn't so much that I was in that system. It was my mindset that was not really where it is now. You know, because I could have still faced the same things, but if I had a certain mindset that I have now, it would have just hit different. You know what I'm saying? Because I would have had the knowledge and a different mindset. So I could have worked at those companies and been like, okay, this is what I need, and I'm going to invest this in my business. I didn't have that mindset back then. So I think just having that mindset, regardless of what's going on in the outside world, is very valuable. Okay, we're going to talk about now to kind of just to wrap up the main takeaway of it. We're going to talk about my philosophy about interpreting as a business, and then we're going to just end it with what I'm building with Russell Trilingual. That's what we're going to do. All right, so I got like a couple minutes, y'all. So I appreciate everybody for being there, for subscribing. It's great, you know. And I love that I'm more of a real person. You know what I mean? Like direct, real person, firsthand experience. So if you're an interpreter, I love to hear your experience. If you're here watching in the comments or whatever, or later on this video, if you watch it, I would love to hear your experience. So my main takeaway with this would be if you're working as an interpreter, please try to start your own business. You know, make that your end goal to start your own business. Because to me, I feel like if you're working as a freelancer on platforms, you just have a middleman, right? Why not just get the clients directly instead of having to go through an agency that's going to probably take the payment, delay the payments, or whatever? You know, you want to know what's going on, you know, and when you're going through agencies, it's like they control everything. You know, they control everything. So if you, my main takeaway would be, and like I said, I'm not going to say that it's not nothing wrong with working for an agency. Like I think it's great, right? Like depending on where your mindset is. Like I work for an agency to start out because I needed to get my feet wet. Like I need experience, you know. So when you want experience and you need that experience, that raw experience, go ahead and work for an agency. But I personally, my main takeaway is I don't think it should be forever, you know, because it's so much benefits that you're missing out on when you can have direct clients. When you have direct clients, I mean, you control everything, you know, you don't have to worry about a middleman taking part of the profit. I mean, it's like you're doing the same job, but with the middleman in it, it's like you're not really reaping the full benefits, is what I would say. And like I say, starting out, yeah, it's okay to work for agencies. It's okay to do that. I think that's acceptable and reasonable, right? Because you need to get experience, right? before you can just step out on your own. So that's one of my main takeaways. So what is my philosophy about interpreting as a business? Well, I think interpreting as a business, I mean, I think it's something that's very well needed, you know. I mean, it's a lot of people that need to communicate. It's important. And when you look at it, like people save money, you know, these companies saving money, like hospitals, law firms. Like it's important that you really know the terminology and you know how to communicate as an interpreter. So my philosophy is that they save in time, which I feel like is really more important than money, and they save in money because you got to look at lawsuits and things like that. If they didn't have an interpreter, they could possibly get a lawsuit if somebody don't communicate something correctly, right? So that's my philosophy behind it, and just understanding that you are very valuable. You're more valuable than what the companies or agencies are really trying to present to you. You know, that's what I would say is a philosophy. Okay, so the last thing we're going to cover is what I am building with Russell Trilingual. This is the last thing before we wrap up. So, like I said, you can always come back later and watch this video. So, what I'm building at Russell Trilingual. Okay, so at Russell Trilingual, and I'm actually going to go and show you. I'm going to share my screen so you can get a breakdown of what I'm building. I think that'll be very great to give you a breakdown. All right, so I'm going to share my screen one moment. Wait a minute. So let me share my screen, y'all. And I thank everybody for being here. I'm gonna wrap this up in just a couple minutes now. Let's go. All right. So as you see, I'm sharing my screen now. This is my logo, Russell Trilingual. This is the home, French Spanish vibes. Welcome to Russell Trilingual. Apprendre le français avec style. Spanish interpretation with soul. Let's vibe together. Okay, so what I'm building on here, this is what it is. I mean, welcome to Russell Trilingual, a language, culture, and lifestyle brand. I provide professional Spanish, English interpretation while sharing my journey, learning French, celebrating culture, and spreading positive vibes. So, what I offer here, I offer the basic to intermediate French, which you can see right here. I offer the learn Spanish because I mean, by me being in Mexico almost 6 years and my experience being a Spanish interpreter, I offer this. So anybody can sign up for that. You just have to click on contact me, and your consultation is a free consultation. It's free, 15 minutes, and it just allows me to evaluate your level and see where we need to start. Um, and we also talk about the cost in the consultation. I don't put the prices on the site. Spanish English interpretation. So this is what I also do. I've been outreaching to try to get people that need the service, and I do it 100% remotely. And then we have the Vibe Zone. So the Vibe Zone is just something where like I can actually click on this and show y'all this. So this is just like dance, language, and culture because I also do this. You know, it's part of my brand. The '90s, Memphis, living in Mexico. This is just a breakdown of the brand, just in period. You know, I'm just really basically not just any interpreter. You know, and then I'm black, so yeah. So and these are like just some of the shows I grew up watching, so it's kind of like, and then of course dance videos, like you know, this is just part of me as a human of who I am, you know. So I definitely didn't want to start it like a cold type business, corporate type business. Like no, like I'm an individual. I'm Russell. I interpret Russell Trilingual. I speak 3 languages, and I wanted to keep that originality. So yeah, this is definitely what I'm offering right now. So you to know, and the reason I'm building it, what I'm building, and the reason I'm building it is because um I feel like I have a voice. For one reason, I feel like I have a voice, and I feel like I have so much experience doing this that I wanna be original. Like I love being like a person that's authentic and not just copying everybody else's style. Like I like being original. Like it's just like something special about that. You know, I'm black. I'm an interpreter. And then just also based on the discrimination I have faced, it's like I want to do something that's original. That I created. I'm not just trying to follow everybody else and just set up something that's so cold. Like, well, I won't just say cold, but I just feel like sometimes, um, based on my experience, some business can be like very robotic, type, I'm just this interpreter, I'm robotic. I got to follow this script type thing. I wanted something where I could just have more individuality, where I could do my own thing. And, like, look here at Russell Trilingual, I help you connect, express, grow, whether you're learning a new language or need of interpretation. So yeah, I didn't want to just like water myself down so much to where I was robotic. So, and I feel like being authentic is what we missing. To be honest, like being authentic at times is what we could be missing. And everybody just don't have the guts to just be like, you know what, I'm gonna just get out here and I'm gonna just do me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna offer myself to people in an organic way. Like I'm gonna offer this in a more organic way to connect with people in a more authentic way. Like I'm not gonna just hide behind a machine and just, you know, be robotic. So that's actually what I'm the reason why I'm building Russell Trilingual was already really built. Like I said, I'm doing my outreach to clients so I can possibly get some clients. I have had some people reach out to me interested in the Spanish. I have had some people reach out to me interested in some people have said they interested in French too. And then I did do some calls to try to get some clients that need remote Spanish interpretation. So that's what I'm building, and that's why I'm building it. So, like I said, if you watch this live later and you have questions or whatever, um, then you're free to comment those questions. This is a business experience, but it's really more of a personal. I don't really look at this as a just a business experience. This is like my personal experience firsthand. So my firsthand experience is everything that I told you. So check out russelltrilingual.com if you're interested in any of the service I offer. I will be dancing on YouTube too, because I do my dance videos too. And it's just part of my brand, who I am, 90s nostalgia and all these services I offer. I'm not a boring, stiff textbook. I like to be original. I like to so I like to be an original person. Yeah, not still textbook. I also offer English lessons. So if you in the US, or you in Mexico or any Spanish speaking country, I also offer English services too. And I'm a native speaker because I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm originally from the South. So if you want to learn English, I also offer that too. So yeah, and like I said, it's not no boring, stiff textbook. I mean, you get the personality, you get the vibe, you get authentically Russell Trilingual. All right. So, and then it's also the vibe zone. It's just like the dancing. The vibe zone is mainly represent the dancing. And then the Russell Trilingual is the language portion of where I represent. Vibe zone also represents nostalgia, 90s, things like that. All right. So we're going to wrap this live up now. I appreciate, I had a couple people kind of pop in here. So I appreciate y'all for just at least popping in. And like I say, you can go look at the live later if you want to look at it later, see what I was talking about. Yeah, so I appreciate y'all. And y'all, what I want to say, I want to leave everybody with a positive message. And this is just not going to be only for the interpreting field. This is for any field what you do. Whether you working as a W-2, I don't think a W-2 job is bad. I think if you work that way, long as you have a good a end goal to start your own business, I think that's important. But you got people that's comfortable working W-2. That's okay. I mean, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. Like, this video is not done to tell you that it's wrong to work as a W-2 employee. Isn't I'm not doing it to say that it's wrong to work for an interpreter platform, because I did it. I did the field work. Okay. I have did it. I have did it firsthand. This is just a knowledge video to just make everybody more aware and just to tell you my personal experience. But I think, like I said, if you starting out as a freelance interpreter, it's okay to work for an agency. It's okay to work for like W-2, be a W-2 employee just to get that experience. I think that's fine. Like, I'm not saying none of the stuff that I have did or none of the things that everybody else do. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm just saying that it's just being aware is what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So thank y'all so much for being part of the live. The people that have kind of sort of popped in, go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you like this video. I will be doing more dance videos, nostalgia 90 videos, more language videos, French and Spanish. But yeah, I thank y'all so much. Y'all have an excellent day, and just know that anything is possible and you can do it. You just have to mindset is everything. Let's just leave with it. Mindset is everything. All right. Thank you so much.